Live in about 5 seconds. So awesome. Thank you guys for joining us today. We've got most of the team here on the call. We'll do some quick intros with everybody, and we've got a couple more members coming in on the way. But today we're just going to keep it really casual and easy. I know we've done two portfolio reviews already in the past, but today we just figured let's just hang out, let's talk about stuff. We can talk about design, we could talk about life and anything you guys want to discuss or know. Let us know. So just drop it in the chat. We haven't done any like pre-form questions for this call, but if there's anything that you guys want to chat about, let us know. I see Adolfo normally, and I can't read the other one, so I don't know what that says. But thank you guys for tuning in. And real quick, while we're here, why don't we just kind of round table and introduce ourselves? I'll jump off first. My name is Peter Del Tondo. I'm a design director here at Unfold. I specialize in user interface, user experience design, building out products, and I get to work with all these cool guys. So with that, let me pass it off to David.
All right, awesome. What's up, guys? My name is David. I'm managing partner here at Unfold. Do design, UI, UX stuff, and just enjoy what we do here. And I guess I'll pass it off to Stian.
Yo, my name is Dion. I do UX and UI design, and that's about it. And I'll pass it on to Evan.
Illustration, branding, good jokes and humor, but yeah, just that.
Hey everybody, I'm Evan Place. I am located in Minnesota where it never gets warm and it's always cold. No, but I do a lot of UI UX design as well and help out with branding and illustration when I'm able. So I will pass it off to Vic.
Hello everybody, I am Vic. I am an illustrator here at Unfold and I make pretty things.
All right.
I forgot to pass it on. I'll pass it on to my boy Pavel.
All right. I'm Pavel and I'm the project manager at Unfold. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
You're still sideways, man.
I was just gonna say your goal is to keep things from going sideways.
Keeping it lighthearted. Yeah.
I'm all about irony.
Awesome. Ted, go ahead.
Hey, my name is Ted and I do mainly branding here at Unfold.
Awesome. All right, well, cool. Well, that gets you guys to know a little bit about our team here. And again, we'll have some more folks jump in soon, hopefully. But let's jump into a couple of questions. So Adolfo, I'm gonna pull up your question on the side. We were talking a little bit the other day in DMs, but I'm gonna jump ahead to this first one from Normally. So how do you guys find inspiration for working on a design or any project when you don't feel like you want to do anything? So I'm going to pick the most positive person here that I can think of, and I'm going to pass that first one over to David and let you answer that one for us.
All right. To recap the question, how do you work on projects when you don't feel like working on projects? Is that the idea?
Yeah, or like they said, when you don't want to do anything. So maybe also knowing what's going on in the world, maybe you might be a little bit depressed, you're feeling down about stuff. How do you pick yourself up, maybe stay positive with things?
Yeah. I mean, off the bat, I would say just having like a work-life balance, that helps a lot. Just having an outlet to just kind of offloading a lot of that stuff that, whether it's pressure, whether it's thoughts or whatever that is stopping you from working. Kind of having that downtime, some sort of hobby, maybe whatever that is, just kind of working around that. And also, once you do have that work-life balance, maybe having some sort of way you get inspired, whether it's, if you're kind of at a block, we all get those designer blocks where you're just stuck. Take a walk, go do something different, get up, stretch, do some push-ups. I know Stian is really good at that, but just overall, just kind of get out of that whatever environment you're in, and then when you get back, typically you're kind of in a different perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just change your environment.
Yeah, I would say the other thing too is like it's okay to not be creating sometimes too. Like you don't want to burn yourself out either. So obviously you want to push yourself to be doing more, but it's okay to take a break. Like Dave was saying, just take a walk, get out, do something different, and then come back to what you're doing later.
Yeah, sometimes just pushing through is a lot harder. Go do something that's outside of your norm and let your brain just shake up in a different way. Well, cool. So next one here from Adolfo. What he and I were talking about the other day, and let me know if I got this wrong, kind of, but he was talking about when you're hiring contractors or when you're hiring people to be a part of the team, and the specific use case here was Dribble. Do you want to invite them to be a member of your team and post as a member of the team, or do you have them sign something that says that they can't share that work, but you then share it under the team account or whatnot, and just kind of how that goes about. So my recommendation, and this is something that benefits everybody, is I think as creatives we all want to share and get the work that we get to do to be seen. It's always a bummer when you work on a project that's maybe under NDA and it can never see the light of day. So if you're going to hire people, think about being in their shoes. You want to get an opportunity to share that work. So it benefits everybody in this case if you invite them to your Dribble team and allow them to post as themselves, but on behalf of the team. If you have a bigger team following, this will help their shot get more exposure. If they have a bigger following than your team, it helps your team get some more exposure. And it's kind of win-win for everybody. So in my opinion, and I think that's something that's really fair. It's how I would want to be treated if I was going to be a contractor on a specific project. Or you sign something up front if it's something you can't share. But I think that's a way that kind of everybody comes out ahead in that situation. So hopefully that answers that for you. All right, so next one, we've got a request for a design critique. I'm gonna make note of that. We'll get to that at the end. We might wait for that in our next portfolio review stream, but we'll see what's going on. We've got three guys with the same background. Yep, we need. What's funny is only one of them is real, so figure out if you can determine which one. Uh, Let's see. We've got folks in here from Iran, the U.S., Argentina. See some friendly faces. Eric Sin, good to see you, man. Well, cool. Well, let me know what other questions you guys might have. Other than that, I mean, let's see. What's everybody been doing? Maybe staying busy from a creative standpoint outside of work right now. I think, Vic, you've been doing some extra projects kind of on the side outside of just our typical like design stuff. What have you been doing?
Yeah, so I've been playing a little bit of Call of Duty here and there, easing up the easing it up with some video games. But one thing outside of design that I really enjoy doing is making videos. So I've been taking advantage of that, making videos for our Unfold, but also making personal videos just for fun, because I feel like what we do, like for example design, like it's fun and I enjoy it and it's my job, but having that as your job kind of makes it sometimes unenjoyable. So like doing personal projects that aren't work related but like that are design related is fun, and it helps balance that out. So I like to do videos, and so when I'm not doing videos for Unfold, I like to do videos on my personal time. So I have made a couple fun videos, like my wife making pretzels, like something so boring like her making pretzels, but I kind of just like use that to find new camera moves and new stuff. And so I've been doing a lot of videos lately, and yeah, it's been really fun.
That's awesome. Well, and a couple of you guys have been building stuff too. Like Ted, you've been working on your house, getting all the projects going, and I think David and Eddie have been building stuff too. Like Eddie was building a chicken coop the other day.
Yeah, it's good to sometimes take a break from computers and just do some physical work. But yeah, I have like little projects around the house that I've been trying to catch up on while being stuck at home the whole time. So it's a
Yeah.
good time doing a little bit of grilling, a little bit of cooking, that sort of thing.
Smoking.
Smoking.
Yep. And now, David, we just got you the new. Was it a smoker? Before I like say this wrong and I get
Yeah,
shamed for
I
the
guess it's
wrong.
a smoker. I think it's a smoker. So, but yeah, I've been getting into a little bit of smoking, the smoking of the meat, let's call it. But yeah, Ted's our main smoker here, so he knows inside out. So he's been giving me a lot of tips, some tips and tricks. So, but yeah, it's been good. It's definitely a really cool little thing to get into. And just beware, if you watch at least one video of smoking meat, you're gonna want to buy a smoker and do it. So get ready to be hungry.
Yep. Yeah, I think half of our team Snapchats is usually just whatever you guys are cooking up for dinner that day or something. So it's fun and it's cool that like I feel like as a team everybody's into a lot of the same things, and so it's fun sharing that. Like my wife made the pretzels, and then Vic, you guys ended up making it the next day and like made the video from it. So it's
I
fun how
actually
some of
we
that stuff
actually bought
piggybacks.
we actually bought ingredients to make pretzels now too because of your guys' stupid snap.
It looked really good from that, huh?
It did look really
And
good.
then Vic made it look like an epic movie as you build it. So that's really cool. You should do another version of it with like the 300 music. So it's just super intense for the most like silly and mundane thing. But yeah. Oh, cool. So we've got a question here from Kid Ben. What were the biggest platforms you ever made, and what were the main challenges doing them? So I'm going to assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, by platforms you're maybe talking about projects, and or projects or products, applications, websites that we've built. Um, Trying to think which ones we can talk about. Uh, I think the big one right now we can't disclose, but we can just maybe talk about some of the challenges generically. I can try
Yeah,
to jump into it if someone else
yeah,
doesn't want to.
I think one thing is like PayJunction platform, and also I know we worked on the CrowdRise stuff as well. But I guess that's more of like the web design part of it. But in terms of platform, uh, trying to recall, I'd have to hop on our portfolio here and
Yeah, so
kind
he's
of.
talking about software as a service. I could maybe jump on
Oh,
that
gotcha.
one. I worked on,
Kaizen.
yeah, Kaizen was one. Evan, you can share some stuff on that and the design system, and then I can share some of the GoFundMe stuff.
Yeah, I don't. How do we want to use on? Is there anything we can show? Otherwise,
Hey,
I'll
just
start talking
so
about it, and you can.
hey, yeah, maybe you can open up the case study on our website or send a link in in the chat,
Oh yeah.
just so people at least have some reference.
Yeah, yeah, I'll pull that up here in a sec.
While you guys are doing that, maybe we can talk, answer. So normally asks, what do you guys think about design education? Next year I'm going to study, but I don't know where to go yet. The thing is that I want to become a web designer, but don't feel like studying art.
Well, show of hands, who here went to design school?
Well, I took like not an official like college degree, but I took it was like a technical institute, but again, it was like super basic graphic design stuff. I think
So
just multimedia.
let's do one more show of hands. Who went to design school and thought it was a total waste of money?
Oh, I didn't go to design school, but my bachelor's degree is towards design, digital design and media. But I never even finished that. I'm like a semester away, and now I'm a project manager, so I guess it's kind of a different industry in a sense.
Yeah, I have a short answer for that. I would say if you can dedicate the same amount of resources, meaning time and money, into self teaching yourself with online resources, I would say you'd get to where you need to be a lot quicker. And there's a lot of resources where there's even communities where that, like, if you need peers and communities to surround yourself with. But I think, like, in today's day and age, like with the internet and with everything going online and in the cloud, I mean, I feel like, going to an official school is always a good idea, but it's not nowadays, it's not the only option. So I know a lot of people that did not go to school there and they're doing really well. And then I know people that went to school and they're doing well. So I think it's really about self-disciplining. If you're not going to school, you have to really set your mind and be disciplined and doing it on your own. So that would be my answer. Yeah.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, I feel like if you're going to school for a designer, I think the fact that you're paying, thousands of dollars to go there is a catalyst for your learning. But if you can kind of push yourself, and all the resources are really online now, if you can push yourself and learn that way, I think that's the better route.
Yeah, it depends on your personality and your learning style. I mean, I went to design school. It was a colossal waste of money. It was more learning directly how to use like tools like Illustrator or InDesign or Photoshop. And most of the classes were very much like, here's a tutorial that they're reading on aloud, a free tutorial that's online somewhere. I get that specific to my experience in the school I went to, but I definitely don't feel like I got anywhere near the value of what I paid for it. Um, Most of what I've learned has been just surrounding myself by good designers, and like even here, getting to learn from all of these guys all the time and the different things that they do, how they work. We're always pair designing, so like as we're in a Figma file, we're on a call talking to each other, so you get to learn how and why somebody's doing something, usually between like jokes and friendly jabs at each other. It's super it's super entertaining. We had a really good time yesterday. Um, and just that helps you grow tremendously. There's so many opportunities too to like go to sites like Dribble or Behance or other people's work and try to recreate it. And like those are things you don't ever publish publicly. It's not your own work, but like go literally copy a site, and through that you can understand like, oh, I get the spacing that they're using or the type sizes. I'm understanding the mechanics of how and why by replicating it. So that's a great experience to go through and see. So I really encourage you guys do stuff like that. But there's people that don't have the right personality to be self-taught, and you need to be in like a classroom environment and whatnot. So if that's you, then go to school and you're going to get more out of it that way. But you can save a ton of money and time and probably graduate from the School of Hard Knocks a lot quicker than you can going through like a formal design education. So uh, I don't know. If you do, check out University of Central Florida. I think they have a great design program, and there's a lot of good people coming out of that school. So check them out. All right, so let's run through a couple more questions that we have. Someone mentioned, actually, I'm going to skip that one and I'll come back to that later. I'm up for a job as a web developer slash graphic designer, and they will assess me on design and make me present it to a panel. Any pointers to help seal the deal? Hand that off to maybe one of our web folks. Maybe Evan or David, you guys want to speak into that one, or Stian?
Could you
So
repeat that?
I know this person. David, if you would like to answer, feel free.
Sorry, what was the question?
Uh, they're a web developer, graphic designer, and they are applying for a job that's going to be assessed on design and make them present it to a panel. Any pointers to help seal the deal?
I think confidence and believing in your work. Just really don't feel like whatever you're presenting. Just make sure it's present like there's a nice flow to the presentation. Keep it simple. There's a lot of slides that are super complicated. So if you're doing like a slide deck, there's like I think it's a 30-20-10 rule. I'll have to look it up, but it's like big text, simple, and just real quick get the points across. But yeah, I mean, I think just be confident and do your best. Maybe
And
Evan
since
can
you
add to
know
that.
them, yeah, you guys want to jump in?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, a lot of it is just like paying attention to the details and having like good reasoning for, the decisions you make. Because a lot of times clients don't always know what, the reasons behind all the design decisions that you made. And it's easy for you to see. And maybe it's obvious to you, but a lot of those things go unseen by the client. And so like explaining those things and calling out specific reasons why you made certain decisions, and also why you made certain decisions not to do it a certain way is always helpful too.
Yeah. Stian, anything you want to add? Otherwise, we'll jump back into that question about some platforms, and we can talk about Kaizen a little bit.
No, I think that was good. I
All
agree.
right. Sounds good. Well, Evan, I pulled up Kaizen here so we can take a look at that project, and you guys can check this one out. It's on our website. It's also on our Behance project as well. And so maybe Evan, chat us through this a little bit.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
and oh, go, what were you saying, Vic?
I just want to reiterate his question for all the people that don't know what we're talking about. So Kid Ben originally asked, what were the biggest platforms you ever made and what were the main challenges doing them? So the platform we're going to be talking about is Kaizen, and you could take that away, Evan.
Yeah, thanks, Vic. Yeah, I think the biggest thing with this one is that there's just so many pieces to it, and that we knew that there would be that we wanted to build a design system for it, and then just coming up with ways to kind of use that atomic design structure. And Peter probably knows the names of all of those things better than I do, but essentially you've got atoms, molecules, and what's the next one, Peter?
Organisms.
There you go. Organisms. So basically, you're building the design system piece by piece, and then adding those components one by one, piggybacking kind of on each other, so that you've got everything kind of connected back to a single source of truth. That way, it makes it really easy to update and easy to manage. But obviously, with so many different widgets and windows and just different UI elements in general, it's a lot to manage and try to game plan uh, all of the constraint options and all of the variations that each of those could be. So that was a big challenge. Is just like really trying to make sure everything that we make in the design system is flexible enough to adapt into whatever situation that it needed to. So I don't know if there's a lot of advice there other than like just trial and error and trying to see the big picture of things and trying to be proactive about what pieces you know may be needed to adapt to, in terms of like even if it's just size, like if a certain widget needs to expand or contain more or less information, you just got to be able to make sure that the design is adaptable in that manner. So
Yeah,
and
and
I know David worked a lot more on Kaizen before I jumped into, some on the marketing side and some on the design side.
Yeah, yeah, I can jump in a little, but yeah, Evan, I think you did. I think you said it good. A lot of these, when you're dealing with a big platform, there's a lot of moving components and parts that you kind of have to get the big picture in mind. So definitely, I think most importantly is understand what you're building, because you can't build a good solution if you don't understand the problem. So I think in order for you to put yourself into user shoes, you really have to understand it. So do a lot of research, do a lot of background, just understanding the project. Let the client explain it as well. Just get a good foundation of that. And then, yeah, like Evan said, just start by gathering a lot of these components together. And what helps me a lot is like sketching layouts and ideas on paper or digital paper, just to get like rough ideas and concepts. And obviously managing the project, for it not to get out of control. Uses a lot of different tools, just to make sure everything's on track, all the pages. And I think part of that question was what like the biggest mistakes to learn from. Yeah, I would say just keep that communication a lot more open with the client, maybe more often check-ins, because with Kaizen, project like Kaizen, we were working on the marketing site and the back-end application simultaneously. So there was a lot, that we did at once. So I think just kind of having a good grip on every aspect of the project. So
yeah, and I think with large projects, like I worked on the CrowdRise by GoFundMe, or now it's GoFundMe charity for like 2 years. And, with that, there's so much that goes into these projects, and it's really about understanding kind of the feature set as a whole. And I think when you're working on something on that scale, it's also knowing what's in the pipeline. I think that was one thing that we saw often there was that we didn't have that insight at all times. And it was just because the product was pivoting, but it makes it really difficult to create solutions that give you the flexibility to continue to expand a product. When you might not have all that information. So like really understanding what the product is at its core, keeping that kind of consolidated and on target and focus. Once you start really spilling in tons of feature sets, tons of different use cases and whatnot, the product will often Frankenstein into something that's no longer focused and is like really targeting the general user base, and it can quickly become almost unusable as more things get added in that complicate something. So I think keeping things focused, keeping things on track, and that really comes from being in touch with your users and being in constant communication, doing testing, getting feedback, and ensuring that what you're building is successful. And that's why our kind of methodology with things is to build very quickly and reiterate and test, kind of that IBM loop idea. And we find that works really well versus spending like weeks or months doing research only to find out that maybe you got it wrong. So just build and build really quick and test things out, try ideas out. It's better to quickly fail than to slowly fail. So hopefully that helps answer a little bit of that. And then one other thing I was going to show, kind of along that lines of building something out, we got to work with Figma on their Flago design system for like a lot of their marketing stuff. And this was something Evan and I got to spend a couple of weeks on. And like one of the cool things with this project was setting it up, and this was Evan's doing here, was like they wanted something that was completely foolproof to hand off to their marketing teams, that we could ensure that like everything was going to be contained and spaced out accordingly. So we set up like all of these cool guidelines that could hide on and off with like the different sections here, so that as they were building stuff out, if this became 2 lines or 3 lines, they could easily just resize and restructure everything that was being done. And I think it's in the other file, but
one thing with that too is this would have been a million times easier had we had auto layout.
oh yeah, we built this before that, huh?
Yeah, that's why the guides are there. Otherwise,
Yeah, now that's not
auto
needed
layout
anymore.
would have yeah, that would have been.
Yeah, but building everything out with that atomic structure, let me switch this off my screen so I don't show anything that I can't show for sure. But I was going to try to pull up some of those atomic components because that was the other portion of that project. We'll pull that up maybe later. I think there's too much stuff in there I can't show. But anyways, hopefully that starts to help a little bit of that question. Okay, cool. So let me scroll back up to some of the things we have. Tips on staging your portfolio and resume for wanting to switch from in-house to agency. Maybe David and Ted, you guys can take that one.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ted. Yeah, and then I'll follow.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is, what kind of work do you want to be doing? And typically that's the kind of work that you would be showing. And what kind of work are agencies currently doing that's popular right now? And I guess just populate your portfolio, your dribble, have your socials all kind of tuned in and updated to include some of that, so that you have all these different places where you can be discovered, and that everything's updated and the kind of work that you want to be doing. So I would just say, kind of simple answer is update your portfolio with the work that you want to be doing and that you want agencies to see.
Yeah, and to add to that, I worked as an in-house designer for quite a while before I joined an agency before. So I do understand, there's pros and cons to an agency because you kind of do the same work over and over again. And then with an agency, you kind of have more of that variety and more of that growth factor as well, because you're surrounded by people that are, working together, typically designers, developers, project managers that are kind of trying to achieve a certain goal. But yeah, I would say, like, to what Ted said, kind of to add to that, just have, the work that you enjoy to do. I don't know if that's the work that you enjoy now that you're doing in-house. If it is, just expand more on it. Just create nice presentation, nice case studies, and there's just add a little more spice, to everything. Create a portfolio of your own. Just try to get to that top level quality, just so it'll be very attractive for agencies when they see your work.
Yeah, and like just to say something to that, like when I was starting off, I would always be browsing top of Dribble, looking at the trends at the time, just to see and learn and practice for that. And of course, you don't want to just be following trends, but it's a good start to get your work out there to be seen.
Yeah, and like I know we've done portfolio reviews a lot, so I think like just showing your thought process and what you do to get to that result, like not just, hey, here's a beautiful shot, which is good too. I think that's what captures the eye, but more of like, have that other side where there's a lot of thought and explanation on why you did certain things.
Yeah, and you guys both touched on this. I'm going to focus on it from like a student aspect, but I often see student portfolios or like very junior level portfolios have like a little bit of everything. And part of that is I think teachers encourage that because you don't have a lot of work yet to show, and they may not know where you're looking to go, so just you need like two web projects, two branding projects, illustration. And for most people, you're going to be strong or passionate about one area of design. So just don't show anything that you don't want to get hired for. I don't like branding or illustration, but when I started off, my student portfolio was more branding heavy. And I kept getting hired for these brand projects that wasn't my strong suit. And it wasn't until I stopped showing all that stuff and just went into like web and digital that I started getting better work, better projects, better jobs. So really focus what you want to get hired for and lean into that, and it'll make your portfolio look a lot stronger as a whole, as well. So good question. Um, all right, so another one that we had in here, I'm going to touch on this one real quick because I don't want to talk about it too long. And that is, I want to join a professional team. I love learning new things. Can you suggest how to join a dribble team? Don't do that. You're going to get banned from dribble if you do that. We know they're actively banning people for the whole dribble follow rings. So if you are not actually a part of a team, or you're not a real team to begin with or a real company, they're going to ban your account. So just don't do it. They track that in the messaging and like see people that are asking to go on fake teams for exposure. Don't do it. You'll get banned. So next question. Let's see. What are things you guys hate in portfolios when people apply for jobs? So we'll answer that, but I want to change it to a positive. And so after we say something that we don't like, what are things that we like to see in portfolios when somebody applies? So maybe Vic and David, why don't you guys take this one?
You said Vic first, so go ahead, Vic.
Sorry, I was typing something out. You're talking about the question about what do you hate to see in
Portfolios.
In
design?
portfolios, as well as what do you like to see in portfolios?
All right, so I guess this answer is going to be a little bit more opinionated because I guess everyone has a different thing. But so one thing some stuff I don't like seeing in portfolios is when you're clearly like, see, I'm an illustrator, so I think I'm going to take this a little bit more to the illustration side. But and I see it on Dribble as well. Dribble is technically a portfolio. People are just copying people. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's a certain style of illustration and it's popular, it just blasts, and you're seeing all that, and like it's like, oh, okay, great, you can do whatever everyone else is doing. Like I'm not that impressed, I guess. But if I see like new stuff, creative stuff, like stuff that blows me away, stuff that other people aren't doing, and that's good, like that's the kind of stuff that I like to see in portfolios. Like I don't want to see the same thing over and over again, because I browse Dribble, I browse Twitter, I see the same stuff. Show me something new, show me something unique, show me something cool. So I guess that's my side to the answer of that question.
Yeah, and I agree, Vic, with that. I think seeing the same old stuff, it does get tiresome. So I think like having uniqueness is always like awesome to see in portfolios. The things I don't like is probably outdated work. Things are just something that just looks really old fashioned. And I know sometimes it's a good project still. So what I would recommend is just revamping the presentation. That usually helps. But if it's like an older, like if it's like 5-year-old work, it's like, well, how, what have you been doing the last 5 years?
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing, one of the bigger things. And I think also work that only has like 2 or 3 projects, I want to see more. So I think that's another thing, like just having a bigger range of projects that you've worked on.
Yeah.
Another thing that I can throw in real quick, and we talk about it a lot. Show the process, man. Like show how you got to that end design. Like I love seeing that. I love seeing how people's minds work. Like seeing the final design is cool and all, but like how did you come about that? I want to see the sketches. I want to see the dirty stuff too. It's awesome seeing the journey. So show that in your portfolio. Don't be afraid to show some dirty sketches. Like there's nothing to hide. Like it's just part of the process. It's cool. It's definitely something you should show.
Yeah. And what are the things that you guys like seeing beyond? I know we just touched on the process, but what's something else that you really enjoy in a portfolio?
This is maybe, I don't know if this is exactly what that question is getting at, and it's like what I like, don't like. But one thing I think just to be sure of in your portfolio is if you're doing work as part of a team, just be clear about what part of the work you did, and just being upfront with a lot of that makes a huge difference. Because a lot of times if you're showing, I don't know, if you're showing product design for Facebook, like I know you aren't the only one that worked on it, so then I don't know exactly what parts you did. So that's where some of that process stuff that Vic mentioned comes through, is like we kind of see your thinking and what things you actually touch. So
Yeah.
not a hate like thing, but maybe more or less just something to keep in mind with that too.
I agree. I think the thing that I usually dislike and starts like putting up red flags for me when I'm reviewing job applications is usually from younger designers. Is I see when you've freshly graduated from school that you're a creative director. That just it doesn't make sense. You have to creative direct people to be a creative director. So like running your own freelance independent design studio 3 months out of school, you're not a creative director. And I don't mean to say that to sound like a jerk or like to knock people down, but it tells me that you don't have the maturity and experience yet to know what that means and that you're trying to be something that you've not yet become. Not that you shouldn't aspire to get there, and I'm sure you will, but when you start to see stuff where people stretch the truth of something, you start looking for it in other areas. And that goes back to what you said, Evan, where what was your role on something? I've seen so many portfolios where the work isn't that great, but then you see, oh, they worked on something for Facebook or Nike or Spotify. And then you go, well, what did you work on? Because your portfolio doesn't hold up to somebody that I would expect to be working on these kinds of projects. And it starts to put doubt in there of like, well, was this an internship? Were you doing production work for this? There's a lot of questions. And I think if you're upfront and honest with those things, it's going to lead you into the right places. So don't oversell. Yeah, don't put infographics of like, I have 4 stars of proficiency of Photoshop versus like 3 in InDesign. That's the worst thing that you could see. I'll usually close people out if I start seeing those in CVs and whatnot. But yeah, beyond that, show the dates of the projects so we know when they actually took place. It's okay to know that something was really good and up to uh, trends or pushing the limits 4 years ago, even though it might look outdated now, and make sure that you've got current work in there. So definitely something to look for on that front. Um, and then real quick, while I know we keep going into some stuff, we'll touch base on the project management questions. I know our team, we're jamming on a project right now that we're trying to get out for a delivery next week. So all of you guys, you're all welcome to stay here, chime in when you can and want. But I know some of you wanted to maybe drop off early, so just don't worry about it. If you need to drop off, drop off. But we'll keep going for 20 more minutes here. So one of the other questions we had was, what do you guys use, Kanban versus Scrum method for product design? We're team Kanban. It just works well for us. It's really simple and straightforward. And project managing designers is always difficult because we all kind of resist project management to an extent. So keeping with something that's just really simple and visual, we find to be really helpful. So we like that method. And then I think this was also from Jonathan. How would you guys describe your design research process? And do you pull any inspiration from the physical world in order to influence your design interactions? So maybe David and I can take some of this one. Yeah, so we go through, we have strategy as part of every project that we work on. We just don't feel like creating something without some level of strategy and research is going to be as successful. And we want to give everything the highest likelihood of success. So, we always start off with a questionnaire that helps gather some initial information from our clients. We'll go over that information in a kickoff call with them, then dive out. We spend about another week to a month, depending on the project, doing additional research about their brand, their user personas, their competitors, the whole landscape of things. And that leads us in and sets a foundation for everything else that we do on the project. And if you can then sell your design concepts, whether it's for digital web, the product, or branding, grounded in the foundation of your research and strategy, it's a whole lot easier to move that project forward rather than it just be this, do you like it? So that's something that we really like and are able to produce. I know, David, you posted some stylescapes that we did the other day, and that's kind of how we lay out the information for our clients rather than like a generic mood board that's all over the place. We give them kind of some directional paths that we find work really well, and it have been a huge help since we adopted that like a year ago. And then that moves us into the design phase. So I don't know, anything I missed there, David, or that you want to add, or anyone else?
No, I think you got it pretty good. I think just like I said earlier, understanding the problem you're trying to solve, because you can't really jump into a project without some research or some understanding of the industry. You don't want to design flowers for a flowery design for a sports company, or something that's more bold. You know what I mean? Like you kind of have to make sure it fits that industry. So research competitors, and sometimes clients give us a lot of that background, sometimes not as much. So it also depends on a client to client basis. So that's just something we just kind of go with where the client, like what the client provides, and then we do strategy if we need to, and just go from there. And in terms of taking inspiration from the real world, is that what it was? That
Yep.
the question? Yeah, I think the real world. I don't know if it's like objects or nature. I think there's inspiration from everything. You can kind of pull from. So yeah, I think there's a lot of products you use day to day that for sure they're just broken, and you're like, okay, oh, all right, I need to reinvent this, or whatnot. And then there's some things, that just work so awesome that you're just mind blown. So I think there's always things to learn from, like in the real world,
Yeah,
and get inspired from nature.
definitely. I mean, the project that we, I'll say LS because you know what that is. That particular project, we brought in a bunch of stuff utilizing like these paint brushes, and it gave us feeling of like creativity and passion and, kind of life experiences. And it's not going to make a ton of sense to you guys maybe listening. It makes sense to us because we know the research behind this project. We can't talk about it yet, but when you see it and it's presented to the client, it all starts to click and make sense. And so that's one of those things that you have to know and experience some things outside of staring at a screen all day to be able to start to incorporate into projects. So it's really, really important. So one, before I jump back to our list, and yeah, Vic is screenshotting this. So normally is asking, maybe I get a job as a junior designer and I learn there, but you're kind of in a situation where you need a degree, something like management or anything relevant to design sphere would be helpful to study. So really what I would focus on is building a killer portfolio. And even just 3 or 4 projects that show the talent and capability that you have. I can't remember the last time I looked at where somebody went to school or checked if they had a degree. It's all about the portfolio and what does that look like and what talent can we see from that person. And you're really unlikely to go get a design job somewhere by just getting a junior design job. Like you've got to have a portfolio to showcase, find somebody that sees some talent and future in you and wants to take on that opportunity and to train you further. So I would spend some time. I mean, there's so many great resources on YouTube. We're going to be putting out some stuff in the future as well, but like go watch YouTube tutorials on how to build something or go take a Skillshare course or something along those lines. That's the kind of education that you can self-initiate and save yourself tens of thousands of dollars versus having to go get a formal education from and use that to get you out there. There's no reason you couldn't populate like an Instagram page, a Dribble portfolio, Behance, and just start producing work and let that, hopefully pick up some steam and momentum. So that would be my recommendation there.
I think another thing too that you can, that you could do to improve. Now, obviously, you don't want to like post these things to a portfolio, but like if you see a design that you really like literally just try to recreate it exactly as you see it. And a lot of times when doing that, you'll start to see why certain design decisions were made in different things that way. And it'll feel like you're just, a little bit like busy work, or it could, but you're going to really start to see a lot of those decisions that, aren't initially visible when you first look at something. So,
Yeah, definitely. Um, So, one of the other questions, do you have any important general questions that we could ask at the job interview? I usually get stuck there and I say I don't have to ask you anything. I don't think that's a great approach. So, I assume what you mean there is after they have finished interviewing you and maybe the employer is saying, do you have any questions for us? Let me know if I've got that right. Um, if that's the question, anyone here on the team want to jump into that one?
Yeah, I can jump in for a minute. I think just asking about like the company's future goals and kind of where they're heading as a company, maybe let them talk a little bit about their culture, their values, and their mission, kind of like what their overall existence is. That's always something that companies enjoy talking about and they get really passionate about. Um, and aside from that, just your basic, maybe how big is the team or whatnot. If you don't know a lot of this information, obviously ask about processes, like things, just I think there's so many questions, and a lot of them you don't want to ask too many basic ones. You learn a lot of it as you go. If you get the job, but yeah, maybe there's a more creative answer where maybe there's certain questions you can ask that really will catch them off guard. If
I
anybody else
see Ted
has
smirking. He's got
what is
something.
I asked them, why should I work here?
There you go.
Yeah, no,
That way you flip the coin on them.
That's a great
Yeah.
question. Yeah.
Interview them. You're not interviewing me. I'm going to interview you.
yeah, like in a lot of ways though, that's totally true. Like because you don't want to just like get a take a job just for the sake of having a job. Hopefully it's something that you enjoy and it's a place that you can grow and develop. So like you want to know what types of things that they're doing as a company to get better, to grow, to invest in the people that work there. And if you're going to have opportunities to improve yourself, improve as a designer, ways to, you know, apply yourself to the company and help that, or the agency or whatever it is. So like it really is just as much an interview for you to ask about the company and figure out what, you know, what they're all about, as it is for them to figure out you. Like I feel like a lot of times the interviews always feel super one-sided, but it's really just as much for you as it is for them.
Yeah. I would say, ask them about their process and like really dive into a project of what does this look like for you guys? How did you come to some of these solutions? But like Ted said, why would you potentially want me on your team? And finding out what that might be, or saying what opportunities do I have here to grow and become a better designer? And that doesn't mean like how do I get promoted here and make more money or something, but like what what are they doing, whether it's as a team, as a culture, to help you become a better person, a better designer? So here at Unfold, it's really important to us that we do things like go to design conferences. So you should ask, hey, is there a stipend or something for me to attend one or two conferences a year? Is there like we have a personal expense fund that we can utilize to purchase training programs and courses or equipment that we might need to do our jobs better. We don't do client work on Fridays, with the exception of this Friday, because we agreed to do a rush project, which is less common, but we're doing it. We typically don't do client work on Fridays, and on Fridays we build things for our own internal purposes. That could be process stuff. We're building Rora. We just launched Rora.co. We create dribble shots, we do marketing things. That day is something that is very beneficial to us as individual designers. So that's a really cool perk of being here, and those are the ways that we part of the ways that we invest back into our team. So finding out what those things are that you could have an opportunity to take advantage of at a job, those are the kind of questions to ask. Yes, things like HR benefits and stuff like that. Get to know those things too. Assess your whole offer. It's not just what's the number that they're going to slide on the paper, which never is as cool as it sounds, in the meeting. But like, find out why you're going to be a good fit, or how you could be a good fit. Ask them some questions of like, hey, have you ever had to solve a really complicated client issue, or like a project that went poorly? What did you learn from that? Like, those are kind of questions too that will make you stand out as a candidate, because more than likely most people, like you stated, are going to just say, nope, I'm good, I don't have any questions. And if you stand out as somebody that's like really thinking about this stuff and care, it's telling them that this isn't just a job for you, that this is someplace that you want to be a career and really invest into, as they're going to invest in you. So yeah, hopefully that one helps. And I think we've got time for maybe one or two more questions. So let's see what else we might have, or if you've not yet asked something and you want to, go ahead and throw that in chat, and we'll see what we've got. Let me just scan through a couple things. Someone was asking about how to create a product design portfolio if you can't show your work because it's NDA. Yeah, you can hide some stuff behind a password and sometimes get around it that way, or maybe it's something that you present live on a call, but don't share out publicly so it can't get out anywhere. Let's see, other than that, there's a lot of design questions. So I'm going to ask you all a question. What are you all most looking forward to doing this weekend? And I know our options are limited right now, but what are you guys looking forward to? Maybe we'll start off with, I'm going to go in the top of my screen. So we'll start with Steon. So put down that water. And what are you looking forward to, man?
I'm gonna sleep and play Animal Crossing. That's about it.
Nice. We gonna play some StarCraft after work today?
What's up?
We gonna play some StarCraft after work?
I don't have time because I'm gonna sleep.
All right.
I'm exhausted, man.
Hold on,
Yeah.
Steve, you got
To echo what we said earlier, I'm just gonna take a break, take it easy. A busy week for us, as Peter said. We had a rush project, so all hands on deck. So yeah, just take take some time off from design.
Good to hear, man.
Ian,
How about you, Evan?
Well, hold on. Did you say you got Animal Crossing?
Dude, I've been playing it a
So
lot.
so you're gonna have to update me because I think Peter and I were talking about it the other day. We know nothing about Animal Crossing other than it's everywhere.
Best game ever, hands down.
Best game ever.
Yeah, I totally didn't think about like it just seems like a random game to me, but when I tried playing it, it was amazing.
Guy gets off PC for like 6 months, and now Animal Crossing is the best game ever.
Dude, do we have anybody in the chat who's played it?
I feel like it'd be impossible for no one else to be
It's so
for
much
no one
fun.
else to have played it.
Yeah, I think a couple of the projects Evan and I reviewed on the Adobe stream the other day were from Animal
Yeah.
Crossing.
I was like, well, the nice thing is we could be completely objective because I knew nothing about Animal Crossing other than it looks interesting. So
Yeah. Well, what are you up to this weekend, Evan? I'm just gonna keep calling on people that are like drinking and eating food right at the time.
yeah, all good. I don't know that we have a whole lot planned, which is kind of I don't know what I'm excited about, I guess, which is maybe contradictory to everything going on, but um, I don't know, just playing around with my kids and hopefully laying low. I don't know,
Yeah.
nothing fancy, I guess.
How about you, Ted?
Smoking.
Probably gonna finish Tiger King.
I watched like a 7-minute recap of that, and I feel like I got it, and I'm good. I don't need to jump into that.
Carol Baskin did it, guys. Carol did it. 100%.
That is
But
such a can of worms if you start watching that.
there's also something that I'm not looking forward to. It's painting.
Painting the
Doing
house.
A little bit of painting. Helping my parents out. So.
Gotcha. All right. Nice, easy weekend. How about David, Vic? What are you guys up to?
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna disconnect as well. Take a break, and just kind of reflect on the spiritual side of things because this weekend is Easter, Resurrection Sunday. So that's something that I think a lot of people will be kind of keeping in mind as well. So.
Man,
Yep.
I like forgot that it's Easter this weekend when you mentioned until you mentioned that.
I forgot that it was
because
Friday. Like,
no one's going to church. That's why.
Well, and I woke up this morning thinking it was Thursday. Like I legit thought it was Thursday. I can't even keep my days straight anymore. So
yeah, it's been a minute. The days are just all blending together. How about you, Vic?
Yeah. There's a long list of things, man. My wife and I want to redo our landscaping, so I always like doing little outside projects or projects at the house. So definitely spend a lot of time with my son and my wife. We're potty training him at the moment, so
Godspeed, brother.
yeah. I
It's
mean, dude, he's doing pretty
be
good.
puddles and poopy everywhere.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, he's doing pretty good. We found a method to convince him with little snacks. We call them surprises.
He
And
did
I'll be
that.
like, he'll be sitting in the toilet. I'm like, you want a surprise? Like, you know what you gotta do, and
Yeah.
you'll hear him tinkle, and then like
They
so,
pee, they get 1 M&M. They poop, they get 2.
So yeah. But yeah, man, just chilling with the family, relaxing, like Steon said, and this was a busy week for us. Very very busy. So and then Sunday gonna help my church out and live stream the Easter service, so that way the congregation can be able to have an Easter experience through the church, through online. So, but yeah, I'm excited.
Nice, man. Yeah.
Which leads me to the question: what are you waiting for? What are you excited for this weekend, Peter?
I think giving my wife a break. I encourage, all of you guys here, which I think outside of Pavel, this is the crew that's married and has kids, and anyone in chat, whether it's your husband, your wife, partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, help just them recover throughout the week. I know my wife is really holding down the fort all week long. So, I've tried to make an extra point to end my day a little early for her so she can work out and, get some time to herself. We've got 3 little kids, so it's crazy town here. And through the weekend, just, try to take care of yourself through the week, so that way during the weekend, if you're the one that's working, that you can really help them recover. So I'm excited to just spend some time with my wife and kids and, hang out, enjoy Easter Sunday, which remembering that that's this weekend, and plan some stuff for next week, play some games with you guys, hopefully. So that's kind of the schedule. We'll keep it easy and light. But with that, I saw we had one last question I wanted to touch on from Rashid. And what do you guys think is the right way to market yourself and get great freelance opportunities? Just put out good work. I think that's the biggest thing. And hopefully that kind of got reiterated over stuff that we were saying today. Just keep doing good quality work. And it's kind of that field of dreams. Like if you build it, they will come. That's really the best way to do it. I see too many designers spending time trying to promote or market themselves to prove that they should be the person that you work with. And I feel like that's like a backwards approach. If you spent that time improving your work and your skill and your portfolio, that's probably going to be a lot more beneficial for you than just trying to spend time. It's like having to sit down and have a conversation with someone and convince them because you haven't shown them. So show it. And I think that process goes a lot easier. So hopefully everybody here, stay safe, enjoy your weekends, stay healthy, and we'll do another live stream next Friday. So tune in again. And I forget what we were doing with that one. It was going to be the new show. So we'll talk about some cool stuff going on in design, and we'll answer some questions next week too. So make sure you guys tune in. Thank you for joining us today, and have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.
See everybody.
Easy.